It was mentioned a minute ago that I had been to the camp meeting there in Nigeria on one of my visits, many visits. I've been in the home of your former president, Dr. Obasanjo, and prayed for him, prophesied to him, and had the privilege of meeting and speaking in that wonderful outdoor meeting. And when I left, the most wonderful thing happened. I left the meeting and I flew home to London on British Airlines. And I had dressed very casual for the all-night flight. And the Redeemed team had taken me to the airport and they had deposited me there. And when I walked through the terminal and went towards the plane, I got up in the top of the 747, up in the area, the bubble up area. And I sat down for a night's flight. And I was tired, and I had poured out, and we had ministered, and we had done what we felt was pleasing to the Lord. And there as I sat and just about asleep, a tap on my shoulder came. We had just gotten to the altitude that we would fly over to London in. And when all of a sudden this tap came on my shoulder, I turned, and it was a gentleman there with two young boys. And the man said, "Sir, would you mind praying for my sons, my boys?" I said, "Oh, sure." And I laid hands on them and prayed a blessing in the airplane on them. And then they left and went back to their seat, and they walked down the steps. And I nestled in again to go to sleep, only to be awakened again in the tap of a shoulder. And this time when I turned, there was a lady there, and she said, "Would you pray for me?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be glad to." And I looked beside her, and there was a line of people down the aisle, down the steps of the airplane. And I said, "Oh my God." And so I began to pray, and then the next one would come, and I began to pray, and the next one would come, and the next one would come. And for an hour, I sat on the plane and prayed for people that would rotate through that airplane. And finally, the steward came and said, "Excuse me, Reverend, but people would like to sleep. Would you mind shutting your service down?" And I said to myself, what service? I didn't know that I was having a service. And so I blessed those that were still in line and the ones down the step, and I leaned over the seat and I blessed them, and I said, "God bless you, good night." And they went down. Before the plane landed, I wanted to see what was all this about. So we were close to London, and I got up and went down the steps and just walked around looking to see if I could find that first man with the two little boys. And I did. And when I found him, his two little boys were sound asleep, and I looked at him and I said, "Sir, why is it that you came and found me up in the plane there and asked me to pray? Were you in the camp meeting?" He said, "Oh, no. I said, "Were you in the church that I was at in Lagos?" "Oh, no, not at all." I said, "Then how did you know to come up there that I would pray?" He said, "Well, sir," he said, "when you walked by, my sons and my little son said to me, 'Daddy, that man knows Jesus, and Jesus is on that man.'" And he said, "Daddy, would you let that man pray for me?" And so this father said, "So I brought my boys up for you to pray." Well, I understood that, and I said, "Well, then, how did all those other people come?" And about that time, this woman stood up. She was a Nigerian, of course, bold and brass. She stood up and she said, "I'll tell you why we came, because this man